Jeremy Lin, and you're a pretty big ovation. We saw last night in Boston, Jeremy Lin was the first point guard off the bench, played the first half.
We all know the story, how an undrafted player from Palo Alto, California, took the world by storm when he led the New York Knicks on one of the most unexpected runs in sports history. The publicity was everywhere. A storyline that was covered from late-night talk shows to news broadcasts across the globe. Everyone was talking about Jeremy Lin until the run stopped. Fingers have been pointed for over a decade now about why this magical, meteoric rise had to come to an end. Was it jealousy? Injuries? Maybe something as simple as an updated scouting report? Everyone has their opinion of what went wrong. But the question itself still remains. What killed Linsanity? The first domino to fall in the collapse of Linsanity came on February 23, 2012. For the previous 11 games, Lin had been at the height of the basketball world, averaging 24 points and 9 assists as the new starting point guard of the New York Knicks.
The crowd on its feet here at the Air Canada Center. Lin puts it up. Bang! Jeremy Lin from downtown, and the Knicks take the lead.
The team had gone 9-2 over this stretch, including a big win over Kobe and the Lakers in the Garden, but now found themselves traveling to South Beach for a matchup with the eventual NBA champion Miami Heat. The Heat had been on a revenge tour all season, motivated by a loss in the previous NBA Finals, and the Big Three was more than aware of the publicity that had been surrounding Jeremy Lin.
He's done a great job. I think he's done a fantastic job. But, you know, with great success comes expectation and responsibility and stuff like that. Not to say that he can't do it, but you have to think what happens next.
Team shooting. Oh, the steal by Chalmers. He's been all over Lin. Foul is on Chalmers. They double up again on Lin. Gets it inside. Picked off. Lakers. Oh, the steal as Lin had it taken out of his hands by Cole. Oh, look out. Cole rightly caught. And Lin continues to have difficulties.
In what would be his worst performance since earning the starting spot, Lin would be held to just 8 points on 1 for 11 shooting from the field, a moment that seemed to dim the spotlight on the Knicks' magical run. I want to give a special thanks to Sleeper for sponsoring this project. The NBA season is heating up, which means that you can make up to 100 times your cash playing daily fantasy basketball. On Sleeper Picks, it's as simple as ever before. All you have to do is choose at least 2 players and predict if they are going to get more or less on different stats. We're talking points, rebounds, assists, 3-pointers made, you name it. If you think you know the game, then you have the opportunity to win big using Sleeper's NBA picks. They have an easy-to-use mobile app and give you the ultimate fantasy sports experience. Download the app today and use code Trice, that's code TRICE, and you'll get up to a $500 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for more information. While Lin would continue to put up respectable numbers, sprinkling in some 20-point games following the All-Star break, the Knicks themselves took a turn for the worst, losing 6 in a row to start the month of March. Head coach Mike D'Antoni, whose system of pick-and-roll action had been a major factor in Jeremy's success that season, would step down as head coach of the team on March 12th, citing frustrations with the team's underperformance as his reason for resigning. This led to assistant Mike Woodson being named the new interim coach, a man who had a very different offensive philosophy from D'Antoni. Woodson was a firm believer in isolation scoring, limiting the number of pick-and-roll opportunities available for Lin per game, a change that was welcomed by Knicks star Carmelo Anthony, who just so happened to be one of the best ISO scorers the game had ever seen.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied!
You see, while Melo had been the Knicks star at the time of Linsanity, his absence to start the run had been a big reason for its success, and there has been wide speculation about how he truly felt about Jeremy Lin's rise to stardom in his city.
It was some weird going on because obviously, like, we riding a wave.
Super wave.
And the Linsanity wave is just, and Melo out. Remember, Melo
He was injured
out.
when he went on that
out.
run. Yeah.
Yeah, he gone on a run. We went like 5, 6 in a row. But when Melo come back, Jeremy Lin is the biggest star in the world. The world.
Yeah.
He has literally went from like nobody to the face of the NBA. It was like Melo came back and Jeremy Lin was so big. He was bigger than Melo, media-wise.
Yeah.
And so it did create a little like, this is not real. Like we can't live in this.
Is this sustainable or not?
Yeah, bro, we can't live in this.
Right.
But like, we should be living in it. But I think like it started to create like tension in the way we play.
Can Linsanity continue?
I believe
What
so.
you've seen?
I believe so. What I've seen, I mean, right now he's playing out of his mind,
That's
like
right.
completely out of his mind. He's unbelievable right now. You know, when I come back, I think I can take some of that pressure off of him to have to go out there and do it on a consistent basis.
If Carmelo Anthony is on the floor with Jeremy Lin, who's taking the last shot in that game?
Of course, I want to take the last shot. I mean, let's be quite frank. I mean, I've been doing it for 9 years already, so I've made a ton of them.
I never knew then. I don't know now. I've never had a conversation about it personally with him. But the only thing I've said this, and I don't say it just to like be fake, is I've never had a conflict with him personally. Everything that happened, everything that you know is what I know. I mean, like, everything I heard from, you know, when D'Antoni came out multiple years later, when Amari came out multiple years later, like in the moment, I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know what was happening.
On March 24th, Lin would complain about knee pain following a win against Detroit, and after an MRI, it was revealed that Jeremy had a small tear in his meniscus, an injury that would end his season. In the summer following Lin's breakout season, Jeremy was an unrestricted free agent, with the option to either sign a deal with the Knicks to return or take a bigger contract elsewhere. There were still plenty of questions about if Lin could continue playing at the level he had shown in New York, and when the Houston Rockets laid a 4-year, $28 million deal on the table that summer, the Knicks were left with a decision to make.
I thought the Knicks were going to match me. They told me they were going to match me. I just assumed it. Like, I didn't understand what was happening, and I still don't know to this day exactly what happened.
At first, New York made it clear they wanted to bring Jeremy back, saying they would, quote, match any contract up to $1 billion. However, when the Rockets doubled back with a counteroffer of 3 years, $25 million, which included a gut-punching $14 million set to be paid out in the 3rd year, Knicks star Carmelo Anthony would go on record calling the contract ridiculous.
A lot of people try to, kind of jump the gun with that. He's going to be back no matter what. At the end of the day, he was, a free agent, so he was testing the market. Houston threw a big deal out there on the table. So I really don't know. I haven't talked to anybody in the Knicks organization as far as what's going to happen.
While New York had been no stranger to overpaying for players, in this case, they didn't find the deal worth it, electing to let Lin walk, despite the surge he had given the franchise just a few months prior. Jeremy Lin's career after leaving the Knicks was filled with ups and downs. There were rocky stints in Houston and LA, which were filled with Lin chasing the expectations that followed him post-Linsanity. By the time he arrived in Charlotte in 2015, Jeremy had begun to come into his own as a player, finishing in the running for 6th Man of the Year, as he provided a much-needed spark off the bench for the Hornets.
For Lin, that's a three! Bomb! Jeremy Lin from long range!
Despite an injury-riddled season in Brooklyn the following year, Jeremy would actually be given some of the primary scoring responsibility for the Nets, putting up his best numbers as a professional. Lin was primed to be a focal point of the offense in Brooklyn entering the 2017 season, but a torn ACL in Game 1 would mark the downfall of his NBA career. While this was the end of his opportunity to be a major contributor for a franchise, in 2019 Lin would end his time in the NBA on a high note, becoming the first Asian American to win the NBA championship as a member of the Toronto Raptors.
You had a goal. One of those goals was to make it into the NBA, start as a point guard, and then you were going to win a championship. Way to call it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible journey, and I'm having fun along the way. So, definitely giving all the credit to God, just knowing that there's so many things I feel like I couldn't control, but to be able to achieve all those things and to be able to have, experience that, just super thankful.
Since his time in the NBA, Lin has created a new legacy for himself in both China and Taiwan, where he's played since 2020. Today, he doesn't find himself in the American mainstream media quite as much, but Jeremy has still spent the past few years speaking on Linsanity and how it affected both his life and his career. As we look back at that time ourselves, it's easy to ask the question, where did it all fall apart back in 2012? Could it have been the fault of the Miami Heat, who delivered the initial blow during their revenge tour that season? Was it the loss of Coach D'Antoni, whose system was responsible for giving Lin the tools he needed to shine? Was it the jealousy of teammates, or simply injuries? The list could go on forever. Like any good mystery, it's up to us to sift through the clues and make our own judgment. Personally, I think it was a perfect storm of all of the above, which came together to end one of the most memorable sports events in my lifetime. Under a spotlight that was hotter than any, Jeremy Lin took the world by storm for those 2 weeks. And despite how it ended, he lived out a dream that not only sparked an NBA career for himself, but also inspired millions across the globe. So what killed Linsanity? I don't know that we'll ever truly get that answer. But what I do know is that time period gave us memories that will last a lifetime. And I'm thankful I got to witness it.